the energetic of putting myself out there.
Go to events, and if you can't find an event you like, just create one.
Just doing activities that you really like. So
Tuning in to yourself to be like, like what are the kind of events that I want to go to?
Look for the dancing community in the city you are visiting because you are going to be so impressed.
Welcome to the Travel Not to Escape podcast. I'm your host, Jolene on the Go, solo female traveler and creative entrepreneur. Think of me as your skydive instructor, empowering you to take the leap into solo travel to push past your fears and transform your life. Join me every Tuesday as we explore the world of solo travel with purpose and discover how you can use it for your personal transformation, learn how to make meaningful connections around the world, and reignite your spirit of play. We aren't just talking about traveling to find ourselves anymore. We're all about doing the work to understand who we authentically are, breaking through our limiting beliefs, and taking the leaps to manifest lives we are excited about. Through interviews, solo episodes, meditations, each episode is packed with practical tips, strategies, and inspiring stories from guests who have transformed their lives through solo travel. Whether you're a seasoned traveler or just starting out on your journey, the Travel Not to Escape podcast is here to inspire and empower you to solo travel with purpose. Strap on your helmet. We're about to jump headfirst into the journey of a lifetime. Are you ready? Let's go. What feels like play to you? I know this is something that's easier answered when you're a kid. And as we grow up, it becomes harder because we're so much further removed from what lights us up. And because of that, we don't even know where to start with figuring out our hobbies. So I've made it easy for you. I have a free quiz. It's only a few questions, and you'll find out what your play personality is. Yes, this is a thing. There are 8 different categories of play, like explorer, creative, collector. Each type has its own unique set of activities that light you up. So you can take the quiz, learn about your play personality, and get recommendations on the type of activities you should do and bring back into your life to feel that spark again. And the bonus is you get this great foundation for making meaningful connections, which is the topic we are covering today. So head to travelnottoescape.com/play. It's also linked in the show notes. Now let's jump in. Welcome, navigators. I am so excited to share this episode with you, and it's a bit of a different format. In this first season of Travel Not to Escape, we've had the chance to chat with 30 amazing women who've been so open and vulnerable in sharing their stories of transformation, how solo travel has been a catalyst for them to change their lives. And throughout these episodes, you may have picked up on some themes. As you have noticed, a lot of the women, they're all from different backgrounds, grew up from different circumstances, different starts to life, having different opportunities ahead of them, but they all had a lot of threads in common. So today's episode, we're going to be exploring one of those threads. We are diving into the topic of connection and specifically highlighting 5 different perspectives on how to make meaningful connections as a solo female traveler / digital nomad in Bali. The women that I'm highlighting today, I actually met them in all these different ways. And again, despite having all these different backgrounds, somehow I've been fortunate enough to cross paths with them. And we all had Bali as a common connection, along with a few other things, which you'll be listening to in today's episode. So these are guests that you've heard from already. We have Alex Trevisan from episode 9, who is a quantum leap coach. We have Nikki, episode 13, story listener from the Netherlands. We have Flaminia, episode 26, founder of Nomad Haven. Ale Konashiro, episode 12, hypnotherapist. And Susana, episode 18, founder of Spanish Nomads Tribe. So if you want to dive into their specific stories, you can find them in the show notes. But let's start with all of the responses that each of these ladies had to my question, and how do you make meaningful connections while you're solo traveling? This is something that I see a lot in the solo travel forums, especially for the specific cities. Everyone's always like, how do you make friends in this city? So we're going to dive into one of those questions today. How do you make friends in Bali specifically? And the answers that are both very similar, but also very different across all 5 women. So let's jump into our first answer, who is Alex.
I think in general, it's been the energetic of putting myself out there. And I know everyone has a different energy type and how they connect with people, but I have taken a lot of inspired action to put myself out there. And so whether that's we met, for example, at a co-working lunch, right? I didn't
Mhm.
know anyone at the co-working lunch. I'm like, okay, I signed up for this co-working literally just to meet people. And there's all
Yeah.
these free events. I'm just going to go. And I'm just going to
Yeah.
go and I'm just going to trust. And so that's one example. Another example is there's a lot of Facebook groups. And so I'll post on Facebook groups and I'll say, I'm XYZ, the truth of who I am, what I do, what I like. If you're in the area, let's connect. And then even people that like my posts or don't comment on it, I'm like, hey, are you in this area? Would you like to meet up? And I have initiating energy. So I like to take
Mhm.
action in that sort of way.
I love Alex's response because she brings up a really foundational point in making meaningful connections, and that is the energetics and putting yourself out there, taking inspired action, having that initiating energy. And a lot of these connections, you're not going to make them if you don't put yourself out there in one way or the other. If the thought of going to an event in person by yourself really freaks you out, then take her other advice and do it behind your laptop screen and have that time to be able to connect with people virtually, messaging them, seeing if they're going to be in aligned friendship before you even put the effort and the energy to meeting them up somewhere. So I love what she said. Sign up, go, trust that you'll be okay. She and I met through a co-working in Bali, and immediately it was a beautiful connection. And yes, there's so many ways that you can meet people in Bali, but specifically for digital nomads, co-working is a great option. So let's dive into the next response, who is from Nikki, who I also met actually at that same event that I met Alex.
First of all, doing activities, just doing activities that you really like. So for me, it was snorkeling, for example, it's hiking, it's surfing, because when you do the activities that you like, you already have something in common with the people you will connect with. So that's already super easy. First, you're doing something that you really like, something that gives you energy. Do it with like-minded people who are there also because they also like surfing and they also like snorkeling. So you already have that in common. So that's really easy to connect. Right now on Bali, I was struggling in the beginning as well with connecting. I was not fully open because I was really processing all the stuff. I left my friends and family at home. I don't have a home anymore in the Netherlands. So yeah, I had a lot to cope with. But at some point I started to open up myself and I went to a co-working space where I met amazing people. You're one of them
Oh,
who
period.
who become friends. But that's also because these are all like-minded people. We have something in common. We are all solo travelers mostly. We are all working online. We are all, yeah, wanted another lifestyle that we had before. So there are already three things that we have in common. And it's super easy when a co-working space organize events and then just show up, go there, and then you will see and experience that it is very easy to connect with other people and invite other people as well. Hey, I'm going for a swim, or hey, I'm going for a hike. Someone who wants to join. See the worth in yourself. Hey, I'm worth it to connect with other people and not to be alone. To have an amazing experience. That's what it's
Yeah.
all about. To have that amazing
Yeah.
experience for yourself.
You are worthy of amazing experiences. You are worthy of meaningful connections. And I think that's such a beautiful thing that we don't think about enough. We need to remind ourselves sometimes that you are worthy of having meaningful friendships anywhere in the world that you're at. And I love how Nikki was transparent when she first got to Bali. It was harder for her. She was coping with the fact that she was solo traveling and had given up a lot of her life in the Netherlands to become a digital nomad. And landing in Bali, what do you do? How do you make friends at that point? So I'm glad that she pushed herself and put herself out there to go to the co-working event where we met. And we had a really beautiful friendship group while we were all in Bali and have kept in touch since then. And it is a matter of just at some point deciding that you are worth it and that you are going to find the people you're meant to connect with and choosing the things that light you up in order to find those people. And as she mentioned, when you are doing things that you're already interested in, Nikki loves being in the water, loves doing things outdoors. So when you're already doing the things that you're interested in, it makes it that much easier to find the people that are also interested in those same things and gives you already a foundation for connection. So whether that is you're in similar life paths, also solo female travelers, also digital nomads, or also just love to be outside, then you can strike up conversation through those avenues rather than maybe if you're a little intimidated introducing yourself and talking about yourself, talk about the activities that you love. And it makes it a little less intimidating.
I feel like the most nurturing connections that I made were always either at events that felt very aligned for me to go to. And one example of that might be, I don't know, maybe a more spiritual event where like, it checks the boxes of the lifestyle I'm currently living. So it's no alcohol and I don't know, healthy and organic food and all these things that I have in my daily life that I really value and just making sure that events support that, which in turn attract people that also like that environment. And I've realized that's been something really beautiful that has helped me connect with amazing souls. I think another place too is actually going to the top digital nomad destinations. I know for some people it might feel a little bit daunting, whether you're an introvert or whatever, but knowing that those are the top digital nomad destinations, they're actually a top for a reason. It's some of those, whether we're attracted to tropical climate or warmer weather or water,
Or
if
strong
you like
Wi-Fi.
those things too, or strong Wi-Fi or whatever that might be, or at least something that sustains a living for a nomadic lifestyle and it's attracting other people in that way too, you're going to meet, it's guaranteed that you're going to meet other people that have similar interests to you, especially if you enjoy the beach or maybe if you go to the more mountainy town. People felt compelled to go to mountainy town too, and you share an interest and there's an overlap there already. So that's just the beginning of a fun friendship, for example. Tuning in to yourself to be like, what are the kind of events that I want to go to? Maybe like a poetry slam, or there's an amazing event here in Bali. It's called Voices Unleashed, and it gives the opportunity for people to access their voice and to share their deepest secrets in front of an audience. And to sing to, that's a special kind of event. And if you go to that, you're going to meet people that are also attracted to that. And there's a synergy there.
I love Flaminia's response. And it's so funny because while we have Bali in common and I was actually living there the same time that she is, she's there for longer, but we actually met through a friend that I met in Argentina, Kristen, who also has been a guest on this podcast, introduced me to Flaminia and we had a lot in common. The spiritual events that she mentioned, lean into the things that make you feel good, that align to the lifestyle that you want to have. And specifically, if you are wanting more of a no alcohol, healthy and organic food type of lifestyle, then by going to those events they're naturally going to attract the people that have similar lifestyles to you. And therefore, you might have other things in common with them. Going to those events are a really good way to make connections. You might be hearing a theme already, and that theme is really understanding intuitively what makes you feel whole, alive, authentically you, and really leaning into that. Because when you are authentically, you emanate an energy that is so attractive to the people that you are meant to connect with. They're already going to see an alignment with their lifestyle, with your lifestyle, and there's going to be just an easy connection with it. If it's not an easy connection, then maybe there's something that you internally need to work on or they internally need to work on. It's just not a good match at that point. Listen to how your body feels. Listen to that spark within you as you're trying to identify what type of events, what type of interests you have, and what are the best ones for you to make meaningful connections with as well. Flaminia also highlights an important thing, And that is in going to the destination, putting yourself in the environment where you're going to attract similar people. So if you love being in the tropical environment, you love doing things like Nikki did of being outdoors, snorkeling, then you want to go to destinations that will align with that. I know there are other people who love being cold. They love going to the snow and maybe doing more hiking. Then you put yourself in those situations because they're going to attract the people who have interest in those destinations. So choose your locations wisely. Now we're going to dive into another guest of ours, Ale. And it's so funny because Ale, I actually met in Mexico City, and she and I weren't in Bali at the same time, but she did live in Bali for some time. And it's so funny because Flaminia and Ale don't even know each other, but they have very similar responses. So again, another common thread that can run through people from very different backgrounds, but have very similar interests. Let's take a listen to Ale's response.
It's doing the things that you like. For me, it's easier for me to find someone that's more like-minded if what I do. I did in Bali, they have writing groups, they have book clubs, they have a lot of these different specific, they do open mic, they call it Voices Unleashed. It's amazing. I absolutely love it. I met really amazing people from there as well. So I do more activities that are non-party related. I have met some people through parties and stuff like that, but not too many. And I just feel like the connection just can't get as deep. And I'm more of a one-on-one or a small group type of girl than a bigger type of group girl. So for me, those work better. Go to events, and if you can't find an event you like, just create one. In Bali, I hosted workshops. I hosted workshops for myself. Yeah, I did inner child. So I did one of art therapy, which was an inner child workshop with art. So we were drawing with crayons and stuff. So yeah, so I was like, just create one or make one or get out of your comfort zone a little bit, or go to that event that maybe you have eyed, but you're like, is it going to be fun? Am I going to be awkward? Whatever, just do it.
I told you Alan and Flaminia had a lot in common. They even mentioned the same Voices Unleashed open mic, which I actually hadn't gone to. But it's funny that both of them had very similar interests and also mentioned that same event. So again, you will find like-minded people going to the same events as you. I love that she mentioned creating your own events, your own workshops, if you can't find the ones that you personally connect with. And that is 100% a great option. I do the same thing. And it gives you an opportunity to be in control and really create the environment and attract the type of people that you want to meet. So in her case, she was hosting inner child workshops, art activities. So what is it that really lights you up? If you've taken the play personality quiz, what is your play style? And what type of activities, events relate to that? And if there's not those types of activities already in the city that you're going to, then there's no one stopping you from creating your own. And it's a very beautiful way to meet people. I've met so many amazing connections that way as well. The other thing that Ale brought up was leaning into the size of the groups that you are interacting with. If you know that you are a one-on-one type of person and that's how you're going to make these meaningful connections, then put yourself in the situations where you are more in a one-to-one format. And this goes back to Alex's recommendation on putting yourself out there on Facebook groups first, because then you can create your own hanging out activity where it's just one-on-one or 1-to-2, where there's a lot more room for deeper, meaningful connections than it would be if you're in a larger event and there's hundreds of people there. If you don't love big events, you don't have to go to a big event. Find a smaller event or create your own smaller activity. So, last person we're going to chat with, Susana. I actually met her on the dance floor in Bali. Really beautiful energy. So, let's listen to what she says.
For me, first of all, I have to say that I danced for 1 year ago. So it's brand new in my life. But I met a really amazing community in Bali when I met you. And for me, dancing was one of the things that makes me meet the most amount of people. Okay, so dancing, if you dance, if you're listening to this podcast and you dance, please
look for the dancing community in the city you are visiting, because you are going to be so impressed about the huge community you are going to find there. Mind blowing. And
Yes.
normally it's really nice people. So if you dance, look for that.
I was always really intimidated to start dancing. There's this overwhelming fear that used to come over me when I thought about partner dances, specifically salsa. And it took me at least a year of private dance classes in order to feel a little bit more comfortable. But after doing that, doing what I needed to do to get over that hump, I have found that dancing and looking for the salsa communities in each of the cities that I've traveled to has been an amazing way to feel immediately at home in a new city. So Susana said, and again, I met her on the dance floor in Bali and we connected from there. You will find such welcoming, open people when you find that dance community. So whether it's salsa or another form, it is a great way, especially if you are a kinesthetic play personality. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. We had 5 different perspectives on how to make friends, but as you all probably heard, there are so many common threads throughout each of those responses that they had on how to make meaningful connections. Really, the main one is find what your interests are and find the people, put yourself in the cities that they're in, put yourself at the events that will attract them. And if you can't find those events, make one yourself and really work on your initiating energy and putting yourself out there in the way that feels comfortable for you. So you don't have to attend a 100-person event. You can make it a one-to-one after you connect through some online events or online forums. So let me know if there are ways that were not covered here, that if you have any questions on how to make meaningful connections in Bali or anywhere in the world, really, please go to @travel_not_to_escape on Instagram or join us on the Facebook community. I'll throw that all in the show notes and let me know what are the best ways that you've made meaningful connections and if there's any takeaways that you learned from this episode. Thank you so much for joining us, and I will see you all on the next adventure. And one last reminder, if you need a bit of a jumpstart on figuring out what your play personality is so you can understand what your interests and activities are that you can start doing as you're traveling the world, as you're wanting to make new friends, then head to travelnottoscape.com/play to take my free play personality quiz and figure out what your play personality is. Okay, see y'all next time. Until next time, keep exploring, connecting, and playing, and safe travels, navigators.